fight he has had in his last 5 fights since he had come back into notoriety again. And he said as far as he was concerned, experience was the key in the fight, and he gave you a lot of credit, and he said you'll be good for the future.
Well, yeah, I appreciated that. John, he did say a lot of good things about me. You know, the man was a gentleman, you know, after the fight and before the fight. So I just have to look for the future and look and work harder in the future and try and be a better fighter in the future.
Okay. We'll be back, and we'll take a look at the first round action right after this timeout. Our coverage of last week's Tommy Thomas Jimmy Young fight at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. We're going to go right to the action in round 1 and pick it up right here. Tommy obviously came out fighting, very aggressive, and it's very noticeable right here. Tom, that was your game plan going in, right?
Well, yeah, right here, when we started the fight out, everything we had talked about this guy, they said put pressure on him and see what happens, you know, when you make him, make him respect me, definitely from the start, and that we wanted to do. So my plan was to make him fight me, make him try and make him respect me, and that's what we did. We were trying to do right here, make him say, hey, he's in for a fight.
Got the feeling talking with Jimmy after the fight that, hey, you know, he wasn't expected much of a fight. He was gonna, not so much that he was taking you lightly, but when you came out fighting in that first round, he kind of got shook up a little bit and said, hey, you know, I've got a fight on my hands.
Yeah, he did. I think he did think a little bit less of me until the fight started, and then after we started fighting, he realized that he was in for a fight.
Seems to me Jimmy right here is just trying to fill you out. He wants to stay in jabbing, but there's no doubt he knows he's in for a fight, and he's going to have to be at his best in order to pick up the win.
Yeah, I think right away he realized that I was going to be on top of him for 10 rounds, and that I had come to fight, and that I was motivated for the fight, you know, and wanted to win. So here he keeps, every time we break, he keeps looking at me as if he can't believe I'm keep rushing right in the first round.
So you got to be wondering here in the first round, you're giving it your all, that you can't really get tired out too fast, because obviously you go 10 rounds fighting like you are here. It's got to be you know, pretty it's got to be a wear and tear on your body.
Well, I know I was in good shape, John. Well, matter of fact, I may have overtrained for the fight, but I knew I was in good shape, and I thought, well, I'll come out and make him punch it out with me and make him fight with me and see what happens. I always thought, well, I can take these early rounds and get ahead of him, and then I can always slow down a round or two and then come back. But my strategy was to get way out in front, win the first 2 or 3 rounds big, and then if I got tired, I could always slow down. But I never did get that break to I never did get a chance to take a breather. It just seemed like once we started fighting, my adrenaline got going, and I just kept fighting and going in and kept trying to hit him, and
I think right here you can see his abilities. He is very clever at escaping a lot of the punches, particularly with his movements, you know, upstairs with the head. And here, of course, he's fighting back. I'd have to say that watching this fight that I would score it even at this point. And, of course, that's the end of round 1. We will take a break here and be back with second round action right after this. Back with action from the Tommy Thomas Jimmy Young fight. We're going to pick it up in round 2. At this point, we scored the first round either even or gave a slight advantage to Tommy. Of course, in Pennsylvania, as this fight was scored, it was a 5-point must system. So right now, it's a heck of a fight. Tommy, your feelings now going into round 2?
Well, I thought I won the first round, and I thought I'd go strong for at least 1 or 2 more rounds. And if he wasn't in condition, I thought he would start to tire, maybe after the 3rd or 4th round, because if he wasn't in as good a condition as I was, then he would tire. But I think he was in a lot better condition than my corner thought he was, and you know, so at this point right here, I'm thinking, well, this guy's not hurting me. I haven't really scored any heavy blows, but I'm making him fight me. You know, see, I'm keeping pressure on him. He's got to punch, even though he wants to rest here. He wants to back up. He doesn't want to fight it out. I'm making him fight me. I got a couple good body punches in. He covered his head up, and he's trying to relax in this fight, and I'm really doing all the fighting. Here I would come in close and throw a few punches you see here, and then I would just lay in there and keep my hands up, and he'd come back and either hit my glove or bang me on the side of the head here, John. But I felt in the back of my mind that was a mistake, but I was so caught up in the fight, and I was in such, good condition. I thought, well, I'm going to take it to this guy.
Okay, these were the circumstances, backing up a little bit, when you had him against the ropes, and here we go again. This is what I felt that he was really trying to do. He was trying to make you vulnerable towards coming in to where he could possibly connect with his left. That's where he was effective most of the night, in counterpunching.
Left hook,
right?
Left hook with the counter. The jabs here, he really wasn't jabbing me hard at all. The hooks were the ones that were scoring, and I thought up to this point, I thought I was doing real good in the fight, even though I was getting hit with some punches to the head more than he was. I was scoring with more body punches, and I was catching a lot of his punches on my gloves. The only thing I feel now that I look back at the fight, that I feel that I fought a dumb fight in the way that I had more boxing ability than he did, and I still could have been aggressive, but yet I could have paced my my energy and used my energy to a better advantage.
So you're saying that if you were backed off and not stayed in as tight through most of the fight, you would have been a little bit more effective?
Yeah, or I feel like maybe I should have went in and out. See, now after I would throw my punches, and even though, I wasn't doing a whole lot of damage, but I was scoring points, where I lost the round was I stayed right in here, see, and tried to work in there, and he was getting the stealing the round, see, with flurries like that and combinations like that, and I was tired, not really tired, but I was trying to get my breath, and
Yeah, okay, that's the end of round 2. We'll take another break, be back with round 3 right after this. Okay, getting ready for the start of round 3. And there you see Jimmy Young again, backing into the ropes, trying to make Tom commit himself.
Well, I think here what he's trying to do is he's trying to let me punch, and he probably figures, gee, this guy's got to slow down here. And he probably thinks, I don't know whether he thinks he's ahead or not, but he thinks, well, I got to back up and let this guy punch and exert his energy. And every now and then I think he's looking for an opening. But I'm sure he doesn't want to come forward and meet me. I think he thinks the best part in the fight is the counterpunch. And John, I think that's what he's done best his whole career is counterpunch.
How did you feel you were doing at this point? Did you feel you were ahead in points?
Well, we never really talked about how I was doing in the fight until later rounds. My corner just kept telling me, go after him. You're really banging him up, and keep the pressure on him. How do you feel? And so, that's what we were trying to do. That's what I was trying to do, was kind of just, keep going. I was so psyched up, with the crowd and, fighting on a title, card like that, a heavyweight championship card. And really, the guy wasn't that hard of a puncher to where he was hurting me. And I just kept going in and going in, where maybe if he had been a heavy puncher, I might have boxed more, and maybe I wouldn't have threw all the punches and wore myself out.
You get the feeling here that he's trying to rest up a little bit for some of the later rounds.
I got the feeling all through the fight that he was trying to win the fight on flurries. Like at the end of each round, his corner would holler, "You've got 1 minute to go, Jimmy. 1 minute to go." And that's when he would throw his flurries, usually at the end of the round, and try to steal the round.
Okay, we've got about 1 minute left in round 3. At this point, we had the first round given to Tommy. It was either his round or even. The second and third rounds should go to Young at this point. But as I said, right now, it looks like you are taking the fight to him as you have from the outset. Are you getting frustrated by the fact that maybe you weren't scoring?
Well, I was getting frustrated to the fact that I kept throwing a lot of punches to the body, but he was catching a lot of them on his arms. And I was getting in with some punches, but not the kind of punches that I wanted to hit him with. But I felt definitely that I was the stronger of us, and I was going to make this guy fight me. And I just had to believe that was the best strategy at this point. Now, later on, I think I should see, in here, I was staying in here getting hit with punches.
You got a good right in there.
So, even though he wasn't hurting me, he was, scoring. And
that's the end of round 3. We'll be back with round 4 after this timeout. Okay, we're back with action in the Tommy Thomas-Jimmy Young fight. This is round 4. Tom, we had talked earlier, you thought that maybe you really didn't fight Jimmy Young like you should have.
Well, no, I think I did. I thought the first 3 rounds that I did good, and I thought now I should have tried some new strategy. I should have stood straight up and jabbed more and tried to get him to come forward instead of backing up and see what happened then. But at this point, and on all through the fight, I was so psyched up and so, convinced that he couldn't hurt me, which you see me shake my head there, and, as if to say, oh, you can't hurt me. And I think I even did tell him a couple times, I'm sure I did, that he couldn't hurt me. And I was so convinced that, that I was going to wear him out and finally get through. And, see, I should have stood straight up. At times I started to, and then my corner would tell me, go in, go in. So, I don't know. I think if I had the fight over, or if I ever fought him again or an opponent similar to him, I would try and use my jab more and go in and out because I have good legs and I move in and out well. And instead of just being a flat-footed fighter and working myself in close. See, when I was in close here and I was, getting my rest and trying to pace myself, I was right in front of him and he would come back with a flurry. And I would score maybe with a couple, 3 punches, and if I would have gotten out of there and then come back in again later, in the round, it wouldn't have been so bad. But see, I would throw my punches and then stay right in there, see, and get hit.
Here he comes back with another left. Counter-punching once again as he did throughout the night. At the tail end of the 3rd round, he had scored very well and probably won the 3rd round. Here in the 4th, again, using the same tactics, clever tactics, and there another with a left. What are you thinking at this point?
Well, I'm getting discouraged, but I still keep thinking, that I'm winning the fight because of all the punches that I'm throwing to the body and on his arms and keep coming in. If I didn't think I was winning the fight, I thought at least I was close. There I threw a good uppercut, but I really never got to hit him good in the head like I had wanted to. And, it's just, he's such an awkward guy to fight. And he frustrates you because he makes you look so bad when he fights you because you can't really score and hit him. And he doesn't do a whole lot of scoring, but just enough to win the fight. And he's not a real hard puncher, what I mean like a tight puncher that would knock you out, unless he caught you with a really good punch. He just tries to make you look bad. Everything that you do, he tries to make you look bad. And in other words, he makes your punches, all the punches you're throwing, look useless.
Okay, that's the end of round 4. We're back with round 5 after this. Okay, picking up the action in round 5. Tommy, I have to admit something to you. There's no question Jimmy Young was, a lot of people thought he was towards the end of his career. There was not much left in his abilities as a boxer, but he was very impressive in this fight. He took it very seriously, and I think he's got somewhat of a future left.
Well, yeah, I don't buy that thing either about him being over the hill. Maybe his best part of his fighting career was behind him, but still, at 32 years old, 33 years old, he still can fight because Larry Holmes is the champion of the world, and he's only 32 years old. So I don't buy that stuff because you're 30 years old or 32 years old that the fighter's over the hill. So, I think, and I thought going into the fight that maybe he wasn't the fighter that he was, but I still think he's a good fighter.
At this point, it seems like he's trying to measure a little bit. You're not fighting quite toe-to-toe as you had in the past few rounds.
Well, this round here, I tried to stand up and fight him a little bit more and see, and maybe not rush in as much and see what I could do. I thought maybe I could try and pick some punches, but at this point, it was pretty much hard for me to change my style because for 4 rounds I bored in and threw punches, and it was hard for me to change my style.
Did you have problems defending the combinations, particularly the left that he constantly came in with? It seemed to me that for most of the fight you were trying to connect with the body because he obviously was skilled defensively in covering up at the head, but did you have problems once you threw the shots to the body of covering up when he came back counter punches?
Well, because when I would go to punch to his body, he would stand there and wait. He missed that punch, too, and missed those 2 punches. He would wait for an opening to the head. And I never threw a whole lot of punches to the head, for one thing, because I saw guys like George Foreman and Ron Lau, Ken Norton, and guys like that couldn't hit him to the head. So I never really tried to score to the head that much. So
he fights in flurries, obviously.
See, now he's tired here, and he's trying to...
He did it throughout the fight. He would come in with his combinations, back off, walk away to another end of the ring, resting, and then coming back some more.
Right. Yeah, I was very disappointed. I was frustrated in the fight, you know. I didn't think it was my best fight, you know, let's put it that way, and that's why I was frustrated.
We're approaching the end of round 5. At this point, we have Jimmy well ahead in the fight, and there it is, the end of round 5, and we will be back right after this. Back with round 6 of the Tommy Thomas-Jimmy Young fight from the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. This appears to be Jimmy Young's most effective round in the fight. He connected particularly at the tail end of this round, and we will soon see where he connected and how he scored later on. Tom, your thoughts coming into round 6?
Well, I thought the fight was close. In going into this round, I couldn't see, you know, even now watching the tape, I don't see me behind, you know, by no big margin if I'm in behind.
There he's connecting with the left.
Well, he hit my glove. My glove. I said he didn't hit me. I didn't say he shook it off. I said I shook my head, you know, as I told you earlier. I shook my head as if to say he didn't hurt me. The judges thought, well, you know, I was hurt, but I shook my head as to say you didn't hurt me. He didn't hurt me when he hit me flush when I had my gloves down, let alone when I didn't have my gloves up.
Did you feel you still had enough strength behind your punches, or were you losing some of it?
No, I still felt like I was punching real hard. The only thing was that he was becoming harder and harder to hit to the head as the fight went on because all the body punches that I were throwing were tightening up my arms. But I still felt physically strong, you know. My arms were a little bit tight, and, you know, I was throwing a lot of punches. But I still felt physically strong, and I still felt if I could get an opening and that I could do some good. And I didn't feel I was really that far behind, really. Well, I thought I got a few punches in here and there. I scored with some punches there to the head, but it was rare that I could hit him in the head because he's such a hard fighter to hit in the head. He's a smart fighter. He's been in with some good fighters. And he's used to having pressure put on him, as I told you earlier. I felt, John, that the fight was close, and I was fighting a hard fight. I was trying to, you know, think of a strategy of somehow to get him to open up, you know, especially here in these rounds.
1 minute left in the 6th round, and here Jimmy Young comes on strong. He connects with a couple of lefts, but of course he come right back. There he came with another good cross. Were these punches here really having their effects on you?
Well, I'll tell you, more than anything, I wasn't in trouble. I was tired, and...
Many people said, you know, there you're really starting to feel the punches, but a lot of people thought you might go down in this round, but here you go,
see,
coming back again.
Yeah, no, that was in no danger of going down. I felt a couple of those punches to the head, and then one good body punch hit me with, I felt, underneath. But I didn't feel I was in danger of getting knocked out, you know.
Okay, here's a slow motion replay of the tail end of round 6, Jimmy Young's most effective round. Coming in with a number of combinations, landing a right here. Tommy, of course, waving him in. He still wants him to come in and fight toe-to-toe. But another shot to the body, and we'll be back with round 7 after this. Back with round 7 of the Tommy Thomas-Jimmy Young fight. At this point, we've got 5 rounds for Jimmy Young, 1 round for Tommy. 7th round, Tom, what were your cornermen telling you?
I don't agree with you on 5 rounds for Jimmy Young and 1 round for me. I don't agree on that. Even after, you know, people said that I was hurt in that round, look at all the punches I came out and threw right after that round was over. So, you know, I don't think I was a hunt, maybe. I think if he did win the judge's eye, it was with his flourish to the head, and maybe he deserved a decision with that. But I don't feel, John, that I was behind 5-2 or 5-1. I thought it was more like a 3-2 or something like that. As you see, you know, he was scoring with the most effective head punches, but I was getting in a lot of punches on the ribs and to the side of the body. And
well, what kind of indication did you get at this point from your cornermen, from Norm Lockwood, your manager, as far as how you were doing in the fight?
Well, the thing that my corner kept telling me was, take the fight to him, and you know, we'll wear the guy down, and that you're durable and he can't knock you out. They kept telling me, you know, that he can't knock me out, and that, you know, make him respect you, make him back up. Well, I was doing that, but you know, I had to question whether or not they were right. But you know, with the night of the fight, all the heat of the moment, you know, of course I'm a fighter. I wanted to fight, and I've always been a, you know, fighter that comes to fight. I never thought really of any other strategy. Now that I watched the fight, I realized that I had more boxing ability than I used, you know, and of course I landed some good body punches here. And
how did you feel in this round now? Because the previous round you took a couple of good shots. So how were you feeling the effects of the fight at this point?
The most thing that affected me in the fight, really and truthfully, the punches never hurt me. As you see here, he hit me with the right hand, but it never hurt me. As far as he never staggered me, never slowed me down. He never kept me off of him. He never hit me to the point where I thought, oh God, I can't go into this guy anymore because he's tearing me up. It was where he would hit me and I would say, well, okay, I got to get my punches in now. It wasn't the point where where I thought, gee whiz, you know, this guy's killing me. He was hitting me, but I never really thought nothing of his punches. And as I look at the film now, maybe that was a mistake. But I've always been able to take a good punch, and I've always been able to put pressure on a fighter. But I never, as I look at the fight now, I do think that I probably lost the fight as far as the point system goes because I got hit to the head more. But I should have thought it may be a different strategy in this fight. And if I would get another chance to fight Jimmy Young, I'd use a different.
That's the end of round 7. We'll be back in a moment. Round 8 at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. Tommy once again coming in the fight aggressively. Jimmy Young apparently at this point trying to rest up a little bit, of course, trying to use his left hand as much as possible.
Well, I think we've been fighting a pretty good pace here. I mean, even for as much as he's been loafing in the fight, he's still been having to fight me. And I've been a constant target in front of him to make him punch him. There I got a good right to the body.
That was probably a big plus. I think a lot of the crowd that was there were surprised because from round 1 on, neither of you guys really let up. And I think that says a lot for the kind of condition that both of you were in for this fight.
Yeah, I was really up for the fight. Of course, I'd like to have a few more weeks to train for this fight. And if we ever have a rematch, if possible, I'd like to have 8 weeks instead of 4.5 weeks to get ready for the fight. And, you know, but here I realize, you know, that I've got to, you know, that the fight's close and that that, you know, and I've been throwing a lot of punches, and, you know, even though he couldn't punch very hard, I respected him as a fighter. I knew he was a good fighter, and I knew he couldn't really punch hard, but I kept thinking, you know, that the guy was a good fighter. In the back of my mind, I thought, this guy's smart, and I kept saying, if I make a mistake, he's going to capitalize on it.
I've got to ask you, when you were going in with the body shots, did you feel that you were scoring?
Well, a lot of times yes, and a lot of times no. See, right here, he caught a lot of these on his elbows. But and then I come back to the head. I caught him in the head. I think, John, a lot of punches to the body I was scoring, and a lot of them I wasn't. But whenever I would punch him to the arms, I was trying to hit him on the biceps and right in the joints of his elbows, and maybe where he would take a lot of his snap away. I don't know if it did or not, but I know in the past there's been a lot of fights won by punching to the arms. Marciano used to do that.
What's your strategy at this point?
Well, I really can't remember for sure, but I know that, you know, the whole night went so fast. I have to say that my strategy going into this fight was to be in great shape, and thinking that age and my stamina would help a lot in the fight, plus my style. I thought I had a style maybe that would give him trouble, which I think I had a style that gave him a lot of trouble.
Did you have any indication now here in the 8th round of whether or not you were winning the fight?
Well, I didn't know for sure. I shook my head there, not that I was hurt. I shook my head and said to him, you don't have anything. I said, you know, in other words, you don't have any punch. And here I hit him with a good body shot. You see him double down. Some of my body punches would get in and score good, and some of them wouldn't.
Okay, we're approaching the end of round 8, and we'll be back in a moment. Got action in round 9. Again, we should point out the fight is being scored on a 5-point must system. It's being judged by 3 people. The referee, which was Andy Kid DiPaolo. Rudy Ortega was another judge. Of course, he was the referee in the Holmes title fight, and one other. And at this point, they have Jimmy ahead. 9th round, Tom, you have to feel at this point that you were behind. What did your cornermen tell you coming into the 9th round? Did they keep telling you to be aggressive and trying to land?
You know, John, I can't remember exactly what they told me, but there wasn't a whole lot. See, he went to throw a right hand there, and I jabbed him. He couldn't get in.
That's the second time he's done that. He's come in trying to connect, and yet has walked away.
Well, he couldn't do any good, and he saw that I was waiting for him. I really can't remember a lot of exactly what happened, what my thoughts were exactly, and what was being said to me. I myself knew that I was in a fight, and I knew that, you know, from round 1 on that you know, I wasn't, if I was winning the fight, I wasn't walking away with the fight. And I knew that I was going to have to fight every round of this fight. There he hit me, and I shook my head and said no, that he didn't hurt me, and the referees or the judges maybe felt that I was shaking my head to clear cobwebs. But I do that. I don't know if a lot of people here have seen my fights. If I get hit, I'll shake my head, you know, as if to say, you know, that I'm not hurt. And I don't know whether they felt that I was doing that, whether I was hurt or what. I was frustrated a lot in the fight because of his style and his ability, see here, to slip punches. And that had a lot to do with it, John, with me getting frustrated. But
what about the way he was feeling at this point? Now, obviously, you're feeling some of his punches. Was he losing a little bit behind him in these later rounds?
I don't know. He always, I know he was getting tired. I could tell by the way he was breathing. He was breathing hard. And, well, my corner did say that. They said he's tiring out. You're tiring him out. Of course, I know I had to tire. Any human being would have tired out in a fight like this, you know, because I myself would have moments there where I would get sluggish and then I would come back. And I trained as hard as I possibly could for the amount of time we had. Even
and there he goes again.
Yeah, but see, he would walk away and then try and come back and maybe think that, you know, he would catch me running with my hands down, or, you know, something like it. And then he was stalling too, because see, I was constantly coming in, and I guess he felt, well, I got to get some breathing room. Here I missed a punch. Yeah, here I missed a punch. I raised my hand. You know, the crowd hollered. I raised my hand as if to say, you know, yeah, you know, I'm sorry. Or, you know. But
I think at that point there, that was sort of noticeable about how Young was feeling the effects, because you were open, you had raised your hand. He could have easily come in and tried to connect, but I think at this point it's obvious that both of you are starting to tire somewhat, well, yet never giving up.
No, he wouldn't give up, and he fought see the bell ring. And
10th and final round coming up here from the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. Tommy Thomas against Jimmy Young. Tom, this was probably your second most effective round in the fight. I think at this point you'd have to agree that you knew you would have to score. You would have to be very aggressive if you were going to pick up any points in this round.
There I got a hook in. I'm looking for an opening. I'm looking for something that'll really turn the fight around. Maybe even get him to drop his hands and catch him on the chin, but I don't know if that's possible. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, I don't know if he's going to do that or not, but I'm thinking I want to do something big in this round, and if not do something real big, my corner told me to go out and fight all out for the round and try and, you know, win the round. So I don't know what they were thinking, whether they thought I was behind or what. I thought, you know, if I could, I wanted to really try and really rock him. There I scored some good punches, but he come back with some good punches. But he's tired. I'm tired, too. We're both real tired in this fight, this round, I mean. All through the fight, we've been fighting a hard fight for heavyweights.
Came up with a good counter there on the left.
I wanted to catch him, like I said, John. I wanted to catch him with a good punch on the jaw, and it would have made a difference, you know. Maybe here he's tired and I push him away.
Did you feel honestly that you would have to knock him out in this round in order to win?
I never really thought about it. The only thing I could think of was to win the round. Going into the round, my corner says, you got to win this round big. We don't know how they're scoring this, and this may be the deciding round. Go out and win this round big. And I just acknowledged it, you know, and went out, and never thinking whether I was behind or not. At that point, what they said was the only thing I could relate to that made any sense.
Doing a little bit of talking there.
Well, he hit me, and I told him he didn't have anything.
Came across with the right there.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to I think he knows he's ahead at this point. He's trying to rest somewhat, but he doesn't want to get careless.
Yeah. And I'll shake my head, see, it's not meaning that I'm hurt, but as if to say, you know, you didn't hurt me, see. But I can see why, you know, the guy's had success in his past as far as his counter punching with fighters and guys having trouble hitting him. But still, he impressed me with that, but that was all he really had. I feel if I fight him again, I'd fight him a different way. I wouldn't lay inside and let him counter punch me. I'd go in and out and use that, you know, to beat him.
Well, no one knows for sure whether there will be a rematch, but of course I talked with Jimmy afterwards, and he said he would be glad to fight you again.
Yeah.
When and where and for what, I don't know. But here, the end of the fight, both of you are really going through a war, and of course both of you guys showing tremendous respect for each other. And
I don't know. I think here, John, I don't think he knew. You know, of course, it's hard to tell whether or not you're in a fight like this. It's hard to tell how the judges are scoring it. I don't think he knew for sure whether or not he won it or not either. His trainer just walked over to me and said, "Hey, you fought a heck of a good fight. You're a heck of a fighter." And here, I thought, you know,
doing a little showboating.
Did a little showboating. It was a, you know.
You were feeling good. You were feeling good after the fight. Not only the fact that you had went 10 rounds with one of the top heavyweights, but you told me immediately afterward that you honestly thought that you might have been ahead.
Well, I didn't know how the judges scored the fight. I thought there was always, you know, here I'm waiting and we're all waiting. He is too, and I remember when they announced the decision, he was a little bit of shock too. And so, you know, and I asked my corner, I said, did we win the fight? And they said, in our eyes, I think we won the fight, but I don't know how they scored the fight, you know. So everybody's hollering up to me, you know, you did it, Tommy, you did it, and, you know, all of my friends that were ringside. And, of course, you know, I don't think he knows for sure either. I think he feels, you know.
Here's the decision now. Let's listen to it. There was a decision. Jimmy Young winning in a unanimous decision on all 3 cards in a 10-round fight over Jimmy Young.